There, and welcome to another episode of Ask the OT with Gina Grothoff. And each month, Gina answers the questions that caregivers have when they're working with their aging parent, aging loved one. It's a kind of a stressful time where there's a lot of confusion, a lot of questions, don't know what to do, and we're able to help you out by answering some questions for you. Hello, Gina.
Hello.
And we are live on YouTube, where I'll be monitoring anybody that has questions. They can post them by chat. They can also they can text me at my telephone number 704-562-1630. That way I can relay them to Gina. They can also do it on the chat. They can email me at don@focusedhealthyfamily.com.
Don, we're in separate rooms today. I'm not using my headphones. Your volume's up a little loud, and I'm hearing you reverberating here. I want to make sure it doesn't pick up that way.
Okay. I
So
mean,
bear with us while we work out technical difficulties. So I'm
turn
Gina
it
Grothoff.
down.
I'm an occupational therapist with Don with Focused Healthy Family. And I have been working with adults and primarily people in the what we call the geriatric population, which typically is 65 and up. Yet I work with adults of different ages because people with, Alzheimer's sometimes have an early onset. It could be typically it's at least 60, but you can see some of these conditions sooner or other conditions where people need a caregiver, right? You don't have to be elderly to have the needs of a caregiver. And so we invite you here to ask questions and concerns that you have. And before we get into all of that, we like to do some calming, grounding exercises. I've showed people tapping before, and I personally have a whole lot going on. I'm juggling my current job, looking for new work up where I live now, helping both my parents to move, kids getting registered for school, and just lots of things going on, as most of us all do, right? So let's just sit yourself down, put your feet on the floor, and just scrunch your shoulders up, squeeze your face, tense up your muscles, and then relax. So take a slow, deep breath in, hold, and breathe out. Breathe in deeply and slowly, and then breathe out. One more time, slow, deep breath in and out. A lot of times we don't realize when we're holding tension and our shoulders wind up here. And with all the people I work with, I see this for many different reasons. And the best way is to elevate your shoulders and then let them fully drop, because you don't often realize that this is your resting position and you're holding tension in there. I mean, do this with me. When I do that, I begin to feel, hold your shoulders up, Don, about halfway. Just hold them there. I feel it pulling in the back of my neck.
Mhm.
Now keep your shoulders there and try to reach up in the air.
It's a little tight.
It pinches. And so people with arthritis or different conditions in their shoulder, the rotator cuff, when you can't use the proper muscles to raise your arm up, you do what we call compensating, and you're like hiking your shoulder up, but you're just causing pinching and stress on the joint, which can make things worse. And we don't realize um, that we're not having our shoulders relaxed and down. And so you raise them up and then you really force them down. The other thing that's good to do is round them forward and then really stretch them back like you're pushing your chest out. You feel that your shoulder blades, which are your scapulas, and people call them the wings on the back, and you're squeezing those together. So you can do this laying in bed, you can do this sitting in a chair. It can be helpful to lean forward, but it's a very small motion. It's just the shoulder blades angling a little bit, because most of what we do, we're forward. We're driving a car, we're forward. We're using a walker, we're really forward. We're reaching over to help somebody, we're moving forward. And so what happens? These muscles tighten and shorten up, our neck tenses up. And that's why a lot of people have posture issues as they get older, because over time you're training your muscles to come forward in that position. And when they rest and remain there, everything literally tightens up. And if you're not exercising and stretching, you will lose that ability to do that. So this is important for people of all ages, and especially people caring for others. And I like to talk about caregiving. We've talked to some different people lately about caregiving and what is caregiving. A lot of times people associate the person who's the primary person responsible, that's living with them. You got paid caregivers coming in, maybe rotating with family members, spending the night at mom's house or whatever. But it doesn't always have to. You can be a caregiver in other ways. You can be providing assistance, maybe driving your mom to doctor's appointments. You're acting as her caregiver, even if it's not a full-time thing. If you are helping out, if you are, helping, just like with kids, you're helping them to do what they need to do. You happen to take them where they need to go because they don't have that full independence. Well, someone who's older, maybe it's their eyesight, could be their hearing, could be that they can't move very well, or it could be, dementia issues, or any combination of these things that they need some assistance. They need to make sure their medicines get taken properly. They need to make sure they can get to doctor's appointments. You have concerns about falls, because falls lead to injury and leads to further disability and the need for more assistance. And that's why we talk about falls all the time. I sometimes call it the F word, because you get a lot of people, don't talk about falls. Like, they all have, as you get older, and if you've had a fall, you are afraid, you have a fear of falling, and or some people, like people with Parkinson's, they fall so much that they think it's not a big deal. Yeah, I fall, or I don't really fall. I just slid down. I just going up to get in my bed and I just slid. It wasn't a fall. I just slid down. Um, you're still impacting your body, even if it's a mild slide down. Yes, that's not a hard fall, but once you're down there, can you get back up? Are you putting your body in a position that's putting stress and strain on your muscles? Because it doesn't have to be a broken bone that leads to a setback. People can fall and not break anything, but you strain muscles, you know, and it's stressing on the body, just like a car accident, right? Most of us have been in even a minor car accident, and the jarring motion of it, the stress on the body. So a fall to the ground, have you ever sat real hard in a chair? You didn't realize it was lower than you thought. That's jarring on you. And the older you are, if you've got arthritis, if you've got, you know, weaker bones, osteoporosis, where people's bones can break and cause them to fall. I'm going on and on and on here, Don. So reel me in. So that's why it's such a big deal to be looking at that. And so, like, my job as an occupational therapist is often we want to minimize fall risk. We want to maximize someone's independence and minimize, safety hazards. We want them to be as independent and safe as possible. Um,
So just to
yes.
pose in here with the question, so it was asked, what can you do to avoid or help them avoid falls? What are there any tips?
Yeah, some simple things. A clear pathway. Think about if you had children, how you had to remove things off the floor. And this is not for someone who's going to pick them up and eat them, but it's a tripping hazard, right? You ever step on a Lego and oh my God, it hurts. And then you go, ow, and you jump around on one foot. Well, when you're 70 or 75 or 80 or 60 and have a back issue, you hop around on one foot, you could fall over, you could bump into things, right? I mean, some of it's common sense. We've all tripped on something that's on the floor. So clear pathways, throw rugs that are not firmly tacked, especially at the corners, because someone could put something under a rug that kind of holds it in place. But if you're pushing a walker or even just stepping, and that carpet could kind of just pull up on the edges, you know, it can be a tripping hazard. So thinking about clear pathways, thinking about the floor and the surface, and then do you have enough space to get through? Whether you're walking, using a walker, a wheelchair, is it a clear, easy path to walk through? Don and I, our last house was tight and the rooms were small, and we had to squeeze around furniture and things, and I would often bump into the corner of the dresser because of the tight space that was there. So, imagine someone who's older and having to push a walker, there wouldn't have been room to do those things. Part of the reason we're moved to a different house, it's got more accessible space. Doorways are wider, the hallways are wider. This is something that's common with older homes, and I don't know when they started making a change, but definitely anything in the 1970s or before, and probably even into the 80s, doorways were narrower. And even modern homes, sometimes the bathroom door can be narrow, especially to a half bathroom, a bathroom that could be accessible if you're having your mom come visit. You might not realize all the other doorways are wide, but how wide is that doorway? So those are just some basic um, things to consider. If you have other concerns and are, looking at doing some of this, reach out to us, because I am happy to consult with you and, talk with you further one-on-one about your particular situation, because there's so many factors that go into this. And depending on what the person's limitations are and their cognitive ability, their ability to problem solve and, understand and follow instructions, makes a difference.
Well, the another question come in that my my parent gets very angry a lot, and was wondering if one is if that is common, and what's the best way to handle that.
Okay, so parent gets angry a lot. A lot of this has to do with lack of independence. Whether the person is no longer to drive their car anymore, they need some level of assistance. That could be frustrating. The person is used to being independent, they're used to being taken care of themselves, and now they've got their kids telling them what to do. And depending on their personality, that can be aggravating. It can also be just a matter of not feeling heard. It's frustrating as you get older and you have these things to encounter and deal with, and you've got different aches and pains, and then you got people telling you you're not doing it right and you need to do it this way, and then the doctor's telling you this, and there's so many factors going on, and we as family members, we get so worried about their safety and we want the best for them, but sometimes we forget, we're just plowing through it. We forget that there is a person there, and that's the person we're trying to help. And sometimes they need to be heard. Sometimes we need to stop trying to fix and solve everything, right, Don? I was doing a dinner tonight with not my parent, but my child. Sometimes it's just, yeah, it sucks that you have arthritis. I hear that you're in pain. I know the medicines you get don't really help, and I wish there was more I could do. You don't have to solve it. You don't have to fix it. Sometimes they need to feel heard and listened to. Now, if you add someone having some degree of cognitive impairment, and this can start off very mildly and you not realize it because it can kind of creep up. And this is an area that's, where you need a professional assessing the situation, because people can be forgetful, but difficulty with memory is not a normal part of aging. There are factors that contribute to that. I have worked with many people in their 90s who think as clearly as I do. So people assume, oh, I'm getting older, so things are supposed to hurt. No, Yes, joints take wear and tear, but there's things we can do to take care of them. Yes, our brain, just like our muscles, can deteriorate if we're not taking good care of it. Yet you just can't write it off as just aging. And because some cognitive issues kind of can creep on slowly, people very close to that person might not realize what's going on. And that can lead to anger too. When they're trying to function, you want to be independent. How many of us want to admit, that we're not good at something, that we can't remember people's names, or that we, are forgetting to do things, right? We're going to make every effort to make sure that we can do it. And it's exaggerated, it can be, in someone who's older and already needs some assistance from other people. Maybe if they can't hear well, I've had many people, you think they're confused, you think they have dementia, they just can't hear. And once you can make yourself heard, whether they need hearing aids, whether you need to minimize distractions, often looking directly at them if they have good eyesight, slowing down, because a lot of people kind of lip read, not rip lead, lip read. Um, Knowing, do they have a side that they can hear better out of? I know sometimes I'm from the Northeast and I talk too fast. Um, And so sometimes it's not a matter of how loud I'm speaking, but how fast I'm speaking. Am I enunciating my words so that they can be heard? And people, can have more difficulty processing information. And so throwing a whole lot of things at people can be overwhelming. So slowing down what we're saying, giving one piece of information at a time, there's so many things that can contribute to someone being angry, and we can write it off as they're just angry and grumpy, or at 4 o'clock this is what happens, and then we expect them to be angry and grumpy, and we're like, we're angry and grumpy because they're angry and grumpy, and then we're just all angry and grumpy and get angrier and grumpier. And anybody who has some cognitive impairment is going to just further increase agitation, irritability, lead to more behavior problems. I mean, every time I talk through this and think through this, it's like it's so similar to just general family dynamics with people of different ages. And there's an added factor here. People with cognitive decline, there's assessments that they do that show that their brain in some ways is at the level of, an 8 to 10-year-old or a 4 to 5-year-old. And yet they are not an 8 to 10-year-old. They are not a 4 to 5-year-old, because a child is improving their cognitive ability and they're learning new skills and they're developing and they're moving forward, versus someone with a cognitive decline. Some people can have a mild cognitive impairment and can maintain that and it not get more severe. There are lots of different types of cognitive impairments and dementia, and it's not like an instant death sentence that you're going to forget who everybody is eventually. That's not the case with all the different types of things. And things can be affected by infections. Urinary tract infections, can cause someone's cognition to get a little worse, and it can bounce back and get a little better then. Um, so we really need to stop and think through how we're communicating with someone. If they're getting angry, okay, let's look back. What did I say? What did they say? We need to slow down our conversation. And it's challenging. We're in a hurry. We're trying to
Yeah,
get off work. We're trying to, whether we're talking to our kids on the phone or we're juggling multiple things, taking care of the house, taking care of pets. You don't have a lot of time, even just saying, I wish I had more time. I'm sorry that I come in here so rushed.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I have a half hour today. How can I best help you, Dad? Or do you want to just sit and play cards? Or um,
Mhm.
sometimes it's a matter of communicating that in a way that they can understand. And again, I every person is unique. If you've met one person with dementia, you have met one person with dementia. Even the
Yeah.
types of dementia, everybody is different. We all have different personalities. I ask people where they're from, because I know different parts of the country have different kind of mindsets and expectations, what people's careers are. I ask these conversations to build a rapport with the patients that I work with, but it also helps me understand them and where they're coming from. Um,
So, well, I think I might take it just a little further and say, you talked about uh, being aware of your communication. I think it also means being aware of when they get angry, be aware of what the circumstances around it, what else is going on, what happened, what if did you know could they have just had a bad experience of something? So
Right. What's going on in the environment? Are there sounds? Are there sights? Are there smells? What was the situation? Was it after a meal? Was it,
yeah,
a lot of people, their digestion slows down, they get constipated. That doesn't feel good when you're constipated. That
no,
itself can agitate someone. Yeah, so understanding the whole surroundings, what led up to it, what
yeah,
happened an hour before, was somebody else with them and you don't know what that person said.
yeah.
Things can get misinterpreted. I've seen this a lot with my dad when he was going to the adult daycare center, different caregivers coming in, different things happening in the environment. So yeah, looking at kind of all those factors. And no, you can't always figure it out one time, but you can stop after, take some notes. If you don't have time to write, use your voice recorder on your phone so that you can kind of compile and that's where, I could be of help to people with these different situations to kind of help them flush out these things. Because sometimes there's some simple things you can do to make a really big difference in their behavior and how you interact with them, their function. Not that, there's some people are angry and that's where they're at.
Well,
Um,
and let's kind of you're listening to Ask the OT with Gina Grothoff, and we still have a few more minutes left for questions. But we do this on a monthly basis where Gina sits down and answers questions from people about what's going on for them with their if they're caregiving, if they're a family member who is caring for another loved one,
Or you
maybe an
just have
aging parent.
questions. You don't even have to be their caregiver. You just, oh, my aunt, I'm concerned about her. And, I only get to
Mhm.
see her once in a while, but you want to understand better. You want to know how you can support the people who are caring for someone, right? You have questions, we focus on adults and you know, but any kind of challenges, you can come on here with your questions. Like I said, I've been an occupational therapist for over 30 years. I've worked in hospital rehab, so primarily adults, and then more prominently geriatrics. I've worked in assisted living, independent living facilities, nursing homes, skilled nursing facilities, which can be long-term care, but also short-term rehab. And I've also did home health where you go into the houses before. So I've worked in all these different settings. I do a lot working with families and education to help them understand these things, just like I'm talking about now. And I'd love to help you. You can come on with your questions. You can email ahead of time questions you have. We have been trying to do these a couple times a month. It's Monday. We've been doing them some Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And
We're doing some lunch
twice a
ones.
week around, yeah, usually Wednesday around somewhere around noon to 1. So reach out to us because you can send a question ahead of time if you want to do anonymously. You can join the Zoom call. We've had people come on the Zoom call here, or you can just message in while we're here. And again, I can also consult with you one-on-one. I'm here to help you. I have this knowledge. I've been helping my dad and my parents and my family through issues that my parents are going through, primarily my dad, who has Parkinson's and advanced dementia. And I'd like to support you and help you on this journey because it doesn't have to be as difficult as it currently is. There are things that can be done to make aspects easier. And no, it's not going to be perfect and solve all the problems. And now you have that wonderful relationship you always wanted with your parent.
Well, that
How can we make things livable? How can we make things doable? How can we make things better for you and for them, and to manage? And
one and talking of support, I am the trusty sidekick here. So as we're going through this, if you see me kind of fading here and there, I'm putting out information, trying to draw people into the conversation to help them. It's interesting. Um, well, my mind just went off. Uh, what you were just talking about? Refresh my memory because I had a thought that went off of it. Now I did it completely. What was the last couple of things what was the last thing you talked about?
quite a challenge of my memory. I was talking about helping, caring for aging loved ones, supporting people, whether you have just questions about somebody you want to support the other people that are the caregivers, or you have, just questions and concerns about to improve your relationship and how you're caring for them. Um, I've said so many things here today.
I know, and now and that's not that didn't trigger. So I'll have to.
We can add
Well,
to that on another Ask the OT. And do we know when our next one is done?
oh, I let me take a quick look
And
because
today is Monday.
I should
We're
have.
recording.
This is where we're learning
Okay,
to
John, while
have.
you look, I'm going to talk.
Okay,
Today is Monday, June the 17th. And check out on Thursday, the 20th of June. And every Thursday, we drop a podcast, Focused Healthy Family. And we've covered a variety of topics. You can search through them because we've covered many aspects of parenting. And we've also done a lot on caring for aging parents, different topics and questions related to that. We've interviewed audiologists, physical therapists. We've had doctors on. We've had all different kinds of people. We've had different conversations about different topics. So be sure to check out our podcast. You can watch them here on YouTube Live. You can also listen anywhere you can listen to a podcast, whether it's Apple Podcast or wherever. Focused Healthy Family, just those three words put together. And you can locate us to hear those things and share it, with people so that they too can get that information and to help other people out there, because the baby boomers are the largest population. That generation is the has a what's the word? There's a large population, and they're all reaching that age where they're into the retirement age and needing possible assistance. And so there were far more people of that age group than there are younger people to help care for them. And so
go,
it's
go ahead. I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
so yeah, we just want to get this out there. So please share this with people Please share the podcast, check out the podcast. You can go back and watch previous YouTubes that we've done here, as we've done quite a few of these Ask the OTs and
They're
answer
live, so you
questions
can look.
surrounded on different topics.
And our next one is July 1st at 7 p.m.
So that's another Monday at 7 p.m. We don't have another Wednesday one set up,
We
Don.
have one on the 10th. I think I'm not sure
July
what
the
that.
10th, Wednesday at noon is what it says on my calendar. And so reach out to us, find out if you have a group of people, a support group that you'd love us to come speak to, either live or virtually. We're in the greater Charlotte area of North Carolina, but we can come into any support group virtually. We do talks with people. We share additional information and resources. And we have more in-depth, talks that we can do.
Yep, and that's so I that is our Ask the OT for today. We hope that, like Gina said, that you share it with others. You can check us out at focusedhealthyfamily.com, where you can find out all about the podcast, the workshops, the Tuesday tips for parents that we're slowly evolving that into one for seniors, the sandwich generation, the parent that may be taking care of a parent or a loved one. Uh, Anything you want to add in?
It's been a long couple of days.
Yes.
Take a deep breath and tell yourself it's okay. Wherever you at, it's okay. It's never too late to reach out and get help in any form, no matter where you're at on this journey. You're like, maybe I wish I had heard this years ago and now blah, blah, blah. There's still aspects, ways that we can give you support and help. It's not too late. So reach out to us. We'd love to see you next time here on Ask the OT or on our podcast. And remember, how you speak to your children, your parents, the people around you shapes their future and yours.
And well, we'll just shut down. See if I
Yeah, so while you were looking for
Ho-
something,